In this video, I'm going to show you the exact strategy that we use to scale e-commerce brands with cost caps while maintaining a very high return on the ad spend. As you can see here from the screenshot, which is like a screen recording, we have a cost cap campaign where we have spent 6K so far with a 4.63 return on the ad spend and 28,000 revenue generated. And as you can see here, we have like different type of ad set, which are the different cost caps that we have tested. And what is the cost cap and why is that important? So cost caps allows you to scale your campaign while controlling the cost per purchase. And so by doing this, you can actually tell Meta to bring you purchases at a specific cost that you are willing to pay, and ideally this cost should be the cost where you actually are making money, so where you're actually making profits. And the goal of this video is to show you the exact process that you should use to find your winning cap and how to actually, like, what things you should avoid, because sometimes there could be very kind of important problems that can happen when you use cost caps, and this will generate a lot of losses because sometimes cost cap campaigns spend money even though they are not supposed to spend money. And so today we're gonna see how to fix this and how we can avoid it. Okay, let's get started. So this entire strategy itself is divided, so like the actual process is divided into 3 different phases. The first phase is to find winning creatives, because winning creatives are those creatives that allow us to actually test properly the cost caps that then we can use to scale more. So what we have to do, the usual process, we need to test and find winners. We need to identify winning ads. And just so you know, winning ads are ads that have more than 10 sales, ideally, with a high amount of spend and high return on ad spend, which is above your target. Now, here is a screenshot for you to analyze, and I'm going to explain exactly how to find winning ads. So in this case here, as you can see, guys, we have a lot of different creatives inside this ad set. So this is one ad set with many different creatives, and we have some creatives down here that they have like a very good return on the ad spend, like this one, for instance, 8.52, 7.39. Those creatives here are not winning ads, and the reason for this is because the purchases are only few. So we have 2 purchases with like a 50-100 spend, compared to the real winners above here that have the highest amount of spend with the highest amount of purchases and a good, very good sometimes, return on the ad spend. And these are the winning ads that we are looking for. Now, in this case, it's a bit like kind of difficult to see the common problem, because all these ads are actually performing well and the return on ad spend is good overall. But just to give an example, this ad here is not a winner, even though there is 8.52 return on the ad spend, because we know for sure that even if we isolate this ad into a separate campaign, the return on ad spend, it could be good for like 1 week and then it's gonna drop. And so the performance will go down, and this is what causes inconsistency in the return on ad spend when you see the ROAS goes up and down. And for this reason, we want to have those creatives here where Meta spend money, because it means that the potential audience is big enough to actually scale those creatives. And yeah, so at this point you have the winning ads. Let's say you have 5, 6, 7, 10 winning ads, and then now what you want to do, you want to go to the phase number 2. So the phase number 2, that basically means find the best cost cap. So what you want to do here, you want to test different cost caps, starting with your ideal CPA, which is based on your target return on ad spend, using winning ads only with post ID. That's very important, because if you don't use post ID, the engagement sometimes, most of the times actually, don't get duplicated. And if you use an ad without engagement, it will basically increase a lot of CPM, and most of the performance that you can actually get from the winning content probably cannot be replicated because the engagement is missing, and less engagement means less trust and higher CPMs. And so of course the creative itself is gonna have like a lot of problems in terms of fatigue. So example, you need a ROAS of 2 and your AOV is 100, so the initial cost cap that you need to set is 50. Very simple. Now, the goal here is to test a range of cost caps to find the best cost cap. What is the best cost cap? As you can see here, the winning cost cap is the cost cap that spend budget and generate consistent results at your plus 10% set cost cap. And I will give you an example. But before going to this, I want to explain first how to actually test cost cap. So let's go here. Test cost cap. What you have to do, you have to find your initial cost cap. So in this case, for instance, it's 50. Cool. So now what you want to do, you need to set and test a cost caps which is in the range between minus and plus 30% of your initial cost cap. Example again. 50 cost cap is your initial cost cap. Cool. So now what you want to do, you want to find the minus 30% cost cap, which is 35 in this case, and plus 30% cost cap, which is 65 in this case. And so your range of testing of cost caps is between $35 and $65. And then what you want to do, you want to start testing with 50 plus and more or less, so like plus or minus 10%. Then plus or minus 20% and plus or minus 30%. And the reason why so is because if you test 50%, 50 plus 30%, this 65 could be too high for your target return on the ad spend. So you want to start small and then start expanding the actual cost cap differences in terms of size, in terms of like actual money, to allow Meta to spend, because sometimes Meta is not going to spend if your cost cap is too low. And the reason why Meta doesn't spend if the cost cap is too low, like it's actually not because the cost cap is too low, it's because Meta cannot give you conversion for that cost cap with the creatives that you're using. So it could be the cost cap or it could be the creatives. That's why we only want to use winning creatives. Now, winning cost cap. As I mentioned before, the cost cap is the winning cost cap is the cost cap that spend budget and generate consistent results at your plus 10% set cost cap. So if I set a cost cap of 50, what Meta is going to do with the cost cap bidding option, it basically means that Meta is going to give you the 50 cost cap, ideally within a range of 7, 14, 30 days. So in a long time. It's not like a bid cap. Bid cap means that Meta is going to give you that specific, like only purchases for that specific cost cap, bid cap that you put, not within a time frame. Now, let's go to the winning cost cap. Winning cost cap. So, I give you an example because I think it's much better for you to actually see it and understand it. So this is a screenshot of a campaign with different cost caps that we're testing. And here are the cost caps. And here are the actual cost per purchase. And this is the spending. Now, what you need to look at here are the different cost caps that we've tested. We've tested 30.77, 38, 80, 26, 22, 31, 34. And we can analyze the data here. And then what we're going to see is that the 38.77 cost cap is spending too much. So the actual cost is spending in terms of like cost per purchase. So the cost per purchase is too high. Of course, this is spending because it's the second best spender. But the cost per purchase is too high compared to the set cost cap. This is the set cost cap. So it's much more than 10% of the set cost cap. Okay. That means that this is not a winning cost cap. And so we've tested more. As you can see, this is 80. 80, like sometimes, actually, side note, when you put a cost cap of 80, it doesn't necessarily mean that Meta will spend money like we spend 80 if Meta can get purchased for a lower cost cap, or let's say 40. What can happen is that the actual cost cap can be lower or even much, much lower than the actual set cost cap. That's why it makes sense to test more, because you're going to different auction, okay? And so Meta gives you the best quality audience that can convert with higher conversion rate, and that's how you meet a high return on spend and the good cost cap. So the good cost per purchase. Now, what you want to see here is that there is this cost cap here, which is 26. Okay, but 26 is not spending money, even though the return on spend is almost the best here. I mean, it's the best actually, 5.65. Just leave this one 30.77 because we use different type of creatives and they were not spending. But this one here only spend 23, and the cost cap and the return on spend is 5.65, which is good, you can say. Okay, but only got one purchase. So the ROAS, there is a good ROAS, but this is not spending. And after like when you set the budget for this 500 a day, in 10 days, it's probably gonna spend like $23. This means that the cost cap is not scalable, so we cannot use it for scaling. So The best cost cap here is 30.77. As you can see, it spends very well, even like in different type of campaign that we've tested. This one spent well, this one spent well, this one spent well, this one spent well. And sometimes the ROAS is bad, but that depends on the creatives as well, as I mentioned. So here we didn't test like the actual winners that we find. There were no good winners enough to be used into a cost cap campaign. Because they didn't have enough purchases. Then we've collected more purchases, then we switched the winners, and then the campaign starts spending. And we tested, like we have relaunched as an ad set, as you can see here, single ad set, cost cap, and as you can see, is actually spending. And this is the winner cost cap, which is the one that we scale. So we increase the budget and we scale it. So how we scale the cost cap, which is the phase number 3. So what you want to do here, you want to take your winning cost cap and your winning creatives and set a high budget campaign with a high budget ad set. It can be like a CBO or ABO, doesn't matter. What matters is that you need to have only one ad set inside with best cost cap, so the winning cost cap and the winning ad creatives only. And another important thing is that the budget can be within minus 50% of your total daily spend and your total daily spend. So example, let's say you spend 500 a day across your standard campaign, testing, scaling, whatever you're doing. That means that this campaign, scaling campaign with the winning cost cap, should have a budget between 250 and 500 a day. Meta is probably not going to spend this budget. It's probably going to spend like 20%, 30%, 50%. Your goal, like if you've tested well the cost cap, ideally you should spend at least 50% of the cost cap and should bring you consistent sales. Now, important to know, this is very important. You need to keep adding winning content inside this campaign using only the post ID. If you don't use post ID, it's not going to work because the engagement will start from scratch. And if the engagement starts from scratch, Meta is not going to spend money. And then, this is also very important. Some days, the cost per result can be very high. Other days can be low. Long term, ideally, Meta will match your target cost cap. So you need to keep monitoring the campaign, especially if your winning cost cap is too high. Because what can happen is that you can set a cost cap of 80, okay? And then Meta spends very well because the cost cap is high. The actual cost per purchase that you're seeing is like 40, which is within your target. Now, what is going to happen? Maybe in 1 week from now, when the winning creatives are going down in performance, the actual cost per purchase start raising because the actual goal cost cap is 80. So Meta is saying like, okay, I can spend more, but the actual 80 cost cap is not your real cost cap. It's a cost cap that you only tested to go in a better auction, like to target a more, like a higher quality audience. But then it's not going to be profitable. So you need to keep monitoring the campaign, especially when you have a high cost cap. If you have a low cost cap or like, let's say an ideal cost cap, what can happen is that Meta can still spend money. And then in a 1 week period, you can see a cost cap of 100, even if you put a cost per purchase of 100, even if you put a cost cap of 50. So you need to be very careful because you need to see when these things are happening and you need to go switch things up. And the reason why you can see these things sometimes is because when the campaign, the cost cap campaign or ad set is running for a longer period of time, so the 30 days cost cap is still within the range, Meta is still gonna spend. Even if the return on ad spend is like 1 or less than 1 within 1 week range on the last week. But this can be very hurtful for your overall business performance and profits. So you need to keep monitoring it, and that's why you need to keep refreshing the ad created inside. Okay, and this is it, guys. So this is the guide. Let me know in the comments if there is anything that isn't clear for you. And if you want to work with us, I'm gonna leave the link to contact us directly in the description of this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.